Jordan Peterson, you've said that men need to, quote, grow the hell up. Tell me why.
Well, because there's nothing uglier than an old infant. There's nothing good about it. People who don't grow up don't find the sort of meaning in their life that sustains them through difficult times, and they're certain to encounter difficult times. And they're left bitter and resentful and without purpose and adrift and hostile and resentful and vengeful and arrogant and deceitful and of no use to themselves and of no use to anyone else and no partner for a woman, and there's nothing in it that's good.
I mean, what do you do about it?
You help people understand why it's necessary and important for them to grow up and adopt responsibility, why that isn't a shake your finger and get your act together sort of thing, why it's more like a delineation of the kind of destiny that makes life worth living.
What's gone wrong then?
Oh God, all sorts of things have gone wrong. I don't think that young men hear words of encouragement. Some of them never in their entire lives, as far as I can tell. That's what they tell me. And the fact that the words that I've been speaking, the YouTube lectures that I've done and put online, for example, have had such a dramatic impact is an indication that young men are starving for this sort of message, because why in the world would they have to derive it from a lecture on YouTube? You know, they're not being taught that it's important to develop yourself.
We really aren't. At an early age, we're taught that it's all about competition. It's all about being the fastest, being the strongest, being the coolest, not crying, overlooking the small stuff, making sure we take care of everybody else and take care of ourselves last. So yeah, he's right, man. People grow up and then realize they haven't grown up yet. Hello, somebody. I'm one of them people. I literally am one of them people.
But does it bother you that your audience is predominantly male? Isn't that a bit divisive?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
that's a leading question.
More divisive than the fact that YouTube is primarily male and Tumblr is primarily female. Isn't it? Tumblr is primarily female.
But you're just saying that's the way it is.
Well, I'm not saying anything. It's just an observation that that's the way it is.
He's answering the question, but her question's got to be asked and not led, if that's okay. When I talk to people and they ask me a leading question, it's like they're telling you what to answer.
What's in it for the women, though?
Ooh.
Well, what sort of partner do you want? You want an overgrown child?
Ooh.
Or do you want someone to contend with that's going to help you and that
so
you can rely on?
Women have some sort of duty to sort of help fix the crisis of masculinity?
Which depends on what they want. No, I mean, it's exactly how I laid it out. Like, women deeply want men who are competent and powerful. And I don't mean power in that they can exert tyrannical control over others. That's not power. That's just corruption. Power is competence. And why in the world would you not want a competent partner? Well, I know why, actually. You can't dominate a competent partner.
So
if you want domination,
want to dominate, is that what you're saying?
No, I'd say women who have had their relationships impaired, their relationships with men impaired, and who are afraid of such relationships.
Yo, she is trying to start an argument with you, brother.
But what gives you the right to say that? I mean, maybe that's how women want their relationships, those women. I mean, you're making these vast generalizations.
I'm a clinical psychologist.
Oh.
You're saying you've done it?
Oh, drops mic. What gives you the right to say that? I mean, you're making these vast generalizations. I'm highly trained for this sugar honey iced tea woman. You checked my resume already, don't you? You know who the hell I am, don't you?
Okay, sure. But I want to put to you that here in the UK, for example, let's take that as an example, the gender pay gap stands at just over 9%. You've got women at the BBC recently saying that the broadcaster is illegally paying them less than men to do the same job. You've got only 7 women running the top FTSE 100 companies.
Yeah.
So it seems to a lot of women that they're still being dominated and excluded, to quote your words back to you.
It does seem that way.
Wow.
Multivariate analysis of the pay gap indicate that it doesn't exist.
But that's just not true, is it?
That's
I mean, that
absolutely
9% pay gap, that's a gap between median hourly earnings between men and women.
But there's
that exists.
Yeah, but there's multiple reasons for that. One of them is gender, but it's not the only reason. Like, if you're a social scientist worth your salt, You never do a univariate analysis. Like you say, well, women in aggregate are paid less than men. Okay, well, then we break it down by age, we break it down by occupation, we break it down by interest, we break it down by personality.
But you're saying basically it doesn't matter if women aren't getting to the top, because that's what's skewing that gender pay gap, isn't it? You're saying, well, that's just a fact of
No,
life.
it's saying
Women
it
aren't
doesn't
necessarily
matter.
going to get to the top.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't matter either.
You're saying
I'm
it's a
saying
fact
there are
of life.
multiple reasons for it.
Yeah, but
and they
those
aren't being
reasons,
taken into
why
account.
should women put up with those reasons? Why?
Because it's reality. I mean, well, I'm going to let the man talk, but it's reality. I mean, we shouldn't stand for these reasons. Okay, so we leave our jobs. You're going to be able to stand in and do those jobs? Not right away. Definitely going to need years and years and years and years and years of training in order to do that. So you're not just going to be able to step in and do it. It's not possible at all. That's just not how the country was made or built.
I'll give you an example. Okay, there's a personality trait known as agreeableness. Agreeable people are compassionate and polite. And agreeable people get paid less than less agreeable people for the same job. Women are more agreeable than men.
Again, a vast generalization. Some
It's not
women
a
are not more
generalization.
agreeable than
Yes,
men.
that's true, but that's right. And some women get paid more than men.
So you were saying that by and large, women...
See, please just listen, young lady. Listen! Let the man answer the question. See, you ready to pounce, and you're not listening to the man.
But why shouldn't women have the right to choose not to have children, or the right to choose those demanding careers?
They do. They can. Yeah, that's fine.
But you're saying that makes them unhappy, by and large.
I'm saying no, I'm not saying that. And I actually haven't said that so far.
Yeah,
You're
you
saying it
didn't.
makes them miserable.
No, I
at the
said that
beginning.
what was making them miserable was having weak partners. That makes them miserable.
Yeah, she's still living on that first
I would
statement
say
he
that
said
many
in the beginning of the
women
show.
around the age of, I would say between 28 and 32, have a career family crisis that they have to deal with. And I think that's partly because of the foreshortened time frame that women have to contend with. Like, women have to get the major pieces of their life put together faster than men, which is also partly why men aren't under so much pressure to grow up.
That is so true. Me and my wife, she allowed me so much time to get myself right. That's why unfortunately, that's why she knows everything about the bills. She knows everything about all our accounts and everything like that. And I was able to just go out there and figure it out as I went about my day, because she was the more studious one, and she allowed me to use that part. And it was unfair to her. So when I finally got to a point where I can level the playing field, ease her mind a little bit, take over some things, and not only the working part of it, I always had a career, but she did have me in the mindset that, you know, she was the grown-up one, and I can be the goofball. I can screw up. I ain't have to be as responsible as her. I can always bounce back. I can quit a job and go get another one, because she was the one that was holding it down with the more responsible task. And yeah, that was extremely unfair, but that's something that women allow men to do, man. When they meet us, we are some knuckleheads and inconsiderate and selfish, but they love us anyway, and they allow us the room to grow up.
Which we've
Oh, well,
discussed
that's
at
easy.
length.
It's easy to
Why are
answer
women
that
at the
question.
BBC saying that they're getting paid illegally less than men to do the same job?
Well, let's-
That's not fair, is it?
Yeah, why? Answer that, Jordan. Answer that, brother.
I mean,
The first
that's not
question
fair.
might be, why would you want to do that?
Why would a man want to do it? I
Well,
mean, it's a lot of money. It's an interesting
There's a
job.
certain
you know?
number of men, although not that many, who are perfectly willing to sacrifice virtually all of their life to the pursuit of a high-end career. So they'll work. These are men that are very intelligent. They're usually very, very conscientious. They're very driven. They're very high energy. They're very healthy. And they're willing to work 70 or 80 hours a week, nonstop, specialized at one thing to get to the top.
So you're saying women are just more sensible. They don't want that because it's not a nice life.
I'm saying that's part of it, definitely. And so I work
So
for...
you don't think there are barriers in their way that prevent them getting to the top
Oh,
of
there
those
are some
companies?
barriers, yeah, like men, for example. I mean, to get to the top of any organization is an incredibly competitive enterprise. And the men that you're competing with are simply not going to roll over and say, please take the position.
So let me come back to my
absolute
question.
all-out warfare.
Is gender equality a myth?
I don't know what you mean by the question. Men and women aren't the same, and they won't be the same. That doesn't mean they can't be treated fairly.
Is gender equality desirable?
If it means equality of outcome, then almost certainly it's undesirable.
She's trying to get you to agree with her definition of gender equality. She don't really want an answer to your question. She don't want an answer to your question, Jordan. She wants you to agree with her definition of gender equality. Not to give her your own definition, not to skate around it or give her some factual, sensible definition that we all can agree with. She wants you to focus on that one term, gender equality, as it relates to women, as she understands it. That's it. She want to fight about that. That's what she want to fight about.
Desirable.
If it means equality of outcome, then almost certainly it's undesirable. That's already been demonstrated in Scandinavia. Because in Scandinavia...
What do you mean by that? Equality of outcome is undesirable.
Well, men and women won't sort themselves into the same categories if you leave them alone to do it of their own accord. I've already seen that in Scandinavia. It's 20 to 1 female nurses to male, something like that. It might not be quite that extreme. And approximately the same male engineers to female engineers. And that's a consequence of the free choice of men and women in the societies that have gone farther than any other societies to make gender equality the purpose of the law. Those are ineradicable differences. You can eradicate them with tremendous social pressure and tyranny, but if you leave men and women to make their own choices, you will not get equal outcomes.
Right, so you're saying that anyone who believes in equality, whether you call them feminists, call them whatever you want to call them, should basically give up because it ain't going to happen.
Only if they're aiming at equality of outcome.
This is awesome, isn't just watching them have such a intelligent conversation back and forth. It's like they're playing mental chess, and you already know that they both have it. Well, one definitely, and I'm so sorry. The young lady definitely has an agenda because she has a show. She has a show to run, and she want to make sure she gets something to clickbait her audience off of. Like, I got him to say it. She ain't gonna ever get them to say it.
But still, women aren't going to make it. That's what you're really saying.
It depends on your measurement techniques. They're doing just fine in medicine. In fact, there are far more female physicians than there are male physicians. There are lots of disciplines that are absolutely dominated by women. Many, many disciplines, and they're doing great. So
let me put something else to you from the book. You said,
hold on, no, sister, you're not gonna do that. You ain't gonna do that. You ain't gonna do that. That was your opportunity to agree with what he said about the physicians, the young ladies taking over that, and that was your opportunity to show a little bit of love to those ladies for being able to run such an important occupation. Like, she just moved on to the next question. Like, oh yeah, you saying everything that's right, that makes sense. So let me go ahead and move on. I ain't got nothing to say to that, so I ain't gonna fight it. Let's just move on something that I can possibly make you mad on.
So the simple question is, do you believe in equal pay?
Well, I made the argument there. It's like it depends on
so
who
you don't
defines
believe
it.
in equal pay?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Because a lot of people listening to you will just say, I mean, are we going back to the dark
That's
ages
because they're actually
here?
not listening. They're
I'm
just
listening very
projecting
carefully,
what
and
they
I'm
think.
hearing you basically saying women need to just accept they're never going to make it on equal terms. Equal outcomes is how you defined it.
No, I didn't
If
say
I was
that.
a young
said that
woman
equal-
watching that, I would go, well, I might as well just go and play with my Cindy dolls and give
didn't
up
say
trying
that.
at school because I'm not going to get the top job I want because
said
there's
that
someone sitting there saying it's not possible
I
and it's
said
not
that
desirable,
equal
it's going to make
outcomes
you
aren't
miserable.
desirable. That's what I said. It's a
Yeah,
bad
it's not
social
desirable.
goal. I didn't say that women shouldn't be striving for the top or anything like that, because I don't believe that for a second.
Striving for the top, but you're going to put all those hurdles in their way, as has been in their way for centuries, and that's fine. You're saying that's fine.
No, I really
The
think
patriarchal
I
system
really
is
think
just
that's
fine.
silly. I do. I think that's silly. I really do. I mean, look at your situation. You're hardly unsuccessful.
Yeah, and I have
How do you
battled quite
manage
hard
it?
to get where I've got
Exactly.
to.
There you go.
Good
So that's
there
okay.
you go.
Battling is good. This is all
It's
about the fight.
inevitable.
But you talk about men
Why
fighting. I mean,
would
let me
you
just
have-
put another thing to you from the book.
Why
You're
wouldn't
saying
you have to
She don't even want to accept the compliment, bruh. She don't want to accept it. She said because it was a lot of hard work to get here. He clearly said that over and over and over again. But guess what? She don't want to talk about that. She's like, no, you're winning. Let me change this. Let me look back at your book and start something else I want to start. There's something else in this book I want to fuss at you about.
Well, you
it's
just said
rather
that I
unfortunate.
fought to get where I've got.
Yeah, but
What does that make me?
well,
a sort of proxy man or something?
I don't imagine that you've. Yeah, to some degree, I suspect you're not very agreeable.
So that's the thing. Successful women, I'm not very agreeable.
Right.
But
I've noticed
At
that
all.
actually
She
in this
finally
conversation.
agreed to it. She finally agreed to it. She's not agreeable at all. And that's how she was able to get the position she has. And you damn well deserve it, sister. Keep fighting. Keep fighting a good daggone fight.
Is it not desirable to have some of those female traits you're talking about? I'd say that's a generalization, but you've used the words female traits. Is it not desirable to have some of them at the top of business? I mean, maybe there wouldn't have
They
been
don't predict
a
success.
banking crisis.
They
if
don't
that
predict
happened.
success in the workplace. The things that predict success in the workplace are intelligence and conscientiousness. Agreeableness negatively predicts success in the workplace. And
So
so
you're
does
saying
high
that-
negative emotion.
You're saying that women aren't intelligent enough to
I
run
knew
these
she was
top
going to
firms?
say that. Well, come on, sis. That's something that a little high schooler who just now learning how to debate would have said.
Or
So
you're
does
saying
high
that-
negative emotion.
You're saying that women aren't intelligent enough to run these top
Oh,
firms?
conscientious.
I didn't say
Oh,
that at all.
You said
conscientious.
that female traits don't predict success.
But I didn't say that intelligence
and
wasn't. I didn't say that
do.
intelligence and conscientiousness
Well, you were saying that
weren't
intelligence
female
and
traits.
conscientiousness by implication are not female traits.
No.
I mean,
I'm not
that's very
saying that.
dangerous territory.
I'm not saying that at all.
Are women less
There's-
intelligent than men, by and
No,
large?
no, they're not. No, the data on that's pretty clear. The average IQ for a woman and the average IQ for a man is identical. There is some debate about the flatness of the distribution, which is something that James Damore pointed out, for example, in his memo, but there's no difference at all in general cognitive ability.
I always thought that women were smarter than men. I always thought that. I thought they were crazy. I thought women were crazy. I thought every single last one of them. But they go through so much internally. So, they get a pass. They get a pass. Don't hate me, ladies, for saying that, but they get a pass. But I always thought they were smarter than men.
There's no difference to speak of in conscientiousness. Women are a bit more orderly than men, and men are a little bit more industrious than women. But the difference isn't big. But
I know
that
plenty of-
averages into
Plenty of men
conscientiousness.
who aren't necessarily as
Well, of
industrious.
course,
But we'll,
these are-
we'll,
okay.
we'll
But no,
female
but you
traits,
asked me
though,
a
why
question.
are they not...
Feminine traits.
But we also know, because companies by and large have not been dominated by women over the centuries, we have nothing to compare it to. It's an experiment.
True, and it could be the case that if companies modified their behavior and became more feminine, that they would be successful. But
You
there's
seem
no
doubtful about
evidence
that.
for it. I'm not neither doubtful nor non-doubtful. There's no
So
evidence
why
for
not
it.
give it a go, as the radical
Because the evidence
feminists would
suggests,
say?
well, it's fine. If
Why not give it a go?
Someone wants to start a company and make it more feminine and compassionate, let's say, and caring in its overall orientation towards its workers and towards the marketplace, then that's a perfectly reasonable experiment to run. My point is that there is no evidence that those traits predict success in the workplace. And there's
Because
this
it's never
evidence
been
is-
tried.
Well, that's not really the case. Women have been in the workplace for what? At least ever since I've been around, the representation of women in the workplace has been about 50%. So we've run the experiment for a fairly reasonable period of time, but not, certainly not for centuries.
Let me move on to another debate that's been very controversial for you. And this is, you got in trouble for refusing to call trans men and women by their preferred personal pronouns.
No,
I want to
that's
ask-
not actually true. I got in trouble because I said I would not follow the compelled speech dictates of the federal and provincial government. I actually never got in trouble for not calling anyone anything.
Right.
That didn't
You
happen.
wouldn't follow the change of law, which was designed
Not
to
once it was
outlaw
law.
discrimination.
No.
Why
Well,
should
that's what
your-
they said it was designed to do.
Okay, you cited freedom of speech in that. Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now.
Ooh. Sheesh. If you and I are going to sit across from a table and have an intelligent conversation, and we're both going to speak freely, but we're going to guard our words to make sure that we don't say anything that ruins us, first and foremost. And we're also going to say things because we're going to be considerate of one another, and we're not going to say anything that's going to potentially disrespect the host or the person invited to the show. So we're doing it right now. Like, we're clearly doing it. Now you're going out of your way to make me feel uncomfortable by trying to ask me questions that's going to clip me up and probably be able to clickbait whatever show you want to do so you can be extremely successful. But I'm holding my own and I'm being cool while doing so. Now you're going to ask me, why am I not doing that for somebody else? Freedom of speech is not the same as accepting somebody else's desire to be called something or named something. That's not freedom of speech. No, you can't. That's freedom to control my speech. That's not freedom of speech, because now I no longer have freedom of speech because my speech is now controlled by what you decide to be called. Now I have to say what you want me to say. That's not freedom of speech. Damn, I can't say that twice, so I got to go back and listen to that.
To think you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like, you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that?
He called her out.
Rather uncomfortable.
He called her out. He called her out.
I'm very glad I put you.
He called her out. He called her out. Dog, he called her out. Wow, he said, like, you have the right to sit there and offend me just so you can get to your little truth. And he looked her dead in the face. Look, he was like this. Look how he looking at her. He's like, just like you have the right to offend me, offend the hell out of me. I'm your guest and you offended me just so you can get to the truth. But hey, it ain't nothing. It rolls off my shoulder. You know what I mean? I'm that guy.
I have the right to do that. It's been rather uncomfortable.
Hey.
Well, I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Well,
I'm very glad that I've exercised my freedom of speech.
You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on.
So
and that is what you should do. But you're exercising your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
Except you haven't sat there. I'm just trying to work that out. I mean,
he got your ass. He got her ass. Okay, all right. He got her. He got her on that one. All right. Why am I so excited about this? It's because he called her out, and she now see that what I was doing, he knew the whole time. God dang it, this guy plays chess. He plays chess.
you haven't sat there.
She could not deal with it.
I'm just trying to work that out. I mean,
Go ahead.
You have got me. I'm trying to work that through in my head. Yeah. It took a while.
He got her ass. I see. Ooh, I be knowing some stuff sometimes, Van. Good job, brother. Good job, brother.
It did, yeah.
It took a while. You have voluntarily come into the studio and agreed to be questioned. Mm-hmm. A trans person in your class has come to your class and said they want to be called
That's never happened. And I would call them she.
So you would. So you've kind of changed your tune on that.
No, I said that right from the beginning. What I said at the beginning was that I was not going to cede the linguistic territory to radical leftists, regardless of whether or not it was put in law. That's what I said. And then the people who came after me said, oh, you must be transphobic and you mistreat a student in your class. It's like, I never mistreated a student in my class. I'm not transphobic, and that isn't what I said.
You're just saying things, though, to provoke, aren't you? I mean, you are a provocateur.
I never say
You're like
anything.
the alt-right that you hate to be compared to. You want to stir things up.
I'm only a provocateur insofar as when I say what I believe to be true, it's provocative. I don't provoke. Maybe for humor.
Wow. I'm only a provocateur, and when I say what I believe to be true, it's provocative. And with that said, it's not my fault because my intentions was not to provoke, but the way you caught it, you was. Okay, I see why people like this guy, man. He's smart as hell.
This was part of a longer interview, the interview that you had with Kathy Newman. And this was a clip, 3-minute clip. You were talking about the gender pay gap, and you were saying that, paraphrasing here, but that the reason for most women is because most women are agreeable, most women don't negotiate, et cetera, et cetera. I believe that was essentially giving people options as to why it could be that there's this thing that exists or doesn't exist. And I didn't even finish the clip. I didn't even finish the 3-minute clip. But based on the things that another out of context clip that I had seen before, And the way that I'd heard your name being spoken of before in the context of the trans conversation that was happening around that time, 2018. Right, exactly. Again, I was watching this clip, and it's almost like I wasn't even listening to what you were saying. I had already decided that I don't like this man because someone that I trust has told me that I shouldn't like him. So therefore, the decision is made. Why do I even have to finish that video?
Right.
You know what? People do that all the time, and people are telling me right now, I'm getting emails, DMs on IG, inside of the Discord, long DMs, extremely long DMs. People are leaving the channel, and they're saying that I should not be reacting to Jordan Peterson, nor Ben Shapiro, and giving them a platform. I mean, they're clearly all over the internet already. I'm not providing them any platform, but I essentially shouldn't be trying to learn who they are because people have already done their research and they're like, let me do you a favor, don't do it. And if you do it, then I don't agree with you anymore. I don't even want to watch anything you're doing anymore. People are putting their foot down before I even have a chance to find out who Jordan Peterson is. So I'm with her 1,000%. It happens that way. It really does happen that way.
It was just right. And it was just normal.
Well, we use heuristics like that all the time, and it's easy to get caught up in them because, well, you can't listen to everyone. And so you kind of have to make a snap judgment about almost everyone. And the default is you don't listen because there's like 7 billion people. So obviously you're not listening to most of them. So you don't need much of an excuse. How do we all address our proclivity to damn the foreigner? Okay, that's a really important question. Next thing is, well, we all have these proclivities. How are they exacerbated by power and privilege? Right? Those are good questions. But as soon as we make it instantly racist, well, then we can't even ask the damn questions properly anymore. So, Mick, sorry.
That's true. That's true. We make it instantly racist. Oh, yeah. Wow. And then it becomes combative, and it's no longer a conversation anymore.
If everyone has these tendencies, which they certainly do, I've noticed that if I have a guest on my podcast, and I think my audience is fairly open-minded, but then I'll have a guest on that, and they'll hate them. And they'll be like, well, you can't just, even if you don't agree with them, maybe they are wrong, but like you can't just cancel people because they don't agree with you because you're doing exactly the same thing that the people you're complaining about.
Well, and also...
Preach, sister, young lady, preach. For real, because this I've done that too. I'm sorry, I'm guilty. I've seen some people react to certain people, and I judged them off of their thumbnail. I looked at their thumbnail and I'll be like, really? You selling out for the bag? Really? I'm judging them off of their thumbnail. And now people are doing it to me, and I'm like, see how it goes around? What comes around goes around.
Something similar when I finally leaned into listening to you properly, because what was interesting, even after that moment in 2018.
I like that when she said, when I finally leaned into listening to you properly. That's just objectively. That's just without judgment. I like that. That's what I'm trying to do, but people won't allow me to do it.
So when I started watching your lectures late 2019 and last summer as well, in the beginning, I could notice myself listening to you and waiting for a moment where I could say, aha, see?
Right.
I knew I was right. And you know what? I waited. That moment never came. That moment never came.
Wow.
And that comes for me
right?
all the time.
Really. And that again, so it's like there wasn't one moment of being awake and then it's done. So many little, tiny, seemingly insignificant moments where I'm just sitting here by my sofa, just watching and listening, observing myself, waiting for that confirmation that I'm right,
Mm-hmm.
and then it never coming, and then I have to deal with that. And then so again, my curiosity, I finally allowed myself to be curious again. And now, Jordan, I can say you have been one of the most influential people to me for so many reasons I couldn't even mention right now. But to be able to have the conversations that I do now publicly, you have, and I could have never imagined this ever.
Is my man crying? Wow, she really touched his heart with that. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm sorry for cutting this off. Y'all need to tell me what book this is, because I need to read this book. What's the name of this book that Jordan Peterson wrote? Okay, all right.
You have, and I could have never imagined this ever in my entire life. This is, things like this don't just happen. And the fact that I can tell you this.
Oh no.
Thank you. Just thank you.
Wow.
You got him.
Wow.
It's a pleasure. It's a rough pleasure, but
I know.
You knew what happened to me with Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was something. It's really something to see yourself portrayed. I got accused of being a Nazi pretty much when all this happened. It was really something, because I had been teaching students what we're talking about today, about these temptations that you faced and how people, as individuals, get sucked into that totalitarian hell, and then, so that was something for that to happen, such a reversal, and then to have that comic book come out. Well, it was surreal. It was absolutely surreal to be portrayed, because Nazi wasn't enough, right? We had to go right for the archetype itself. So I think we've raised about $400,000 for charity now on the basis of that. So that was a fun reversal. But it was really shocking when I first saw that. I just couldn't believe it. I was very ill at the time too. And I thought, this can't be real. This has to be Photoshop. This cannot possibly be happening. It's so completely beyond comprehension.
Don't this make you want to punch somebody in the face, whoever says something mean about Jordan Peterson, man? I see why so many people be like, as soon as I say something slick about Jordan Peterson, they up on my back. Nah, he didn't say that. He didn't do that. He is not trying to sound like... Yeah, people protect this man. He means a great deal to a lot of people, and us. Wow, I'm starting to see why. I need to know what the name of that book is.
Be happening. It's so completely beyond comprehension. And to come from the pen of one of the foremost Black intellectuals, and I use the racial category only because that's the categories that he's using to operate within.
Yeah.
So
life is really weird.
This is true.
Right.
This is true, as this whole conversation illustrates.